Middle East, surface threats from air defenses is a tough problem because emerging threats right now can see aircraft hundreds of miles away, service officials explained. Furthermore, emerging and future integrated air defense systems use faster computer processors, are better networked to one another and detect on a wider range of frequencies. These attributes, coupled with an ability to detect aircraft at further distances, make air defenses increasingly able to at times detect even stealth aircraft, in some instances with surveillance radar. Russian media reports have recently claimed that stealth technology is useless against their air defenses. Russian-built S-300 and S-400 air defenses are believed to be among the best in the world. In addition, the national interest has reported that Russia is now working on an S-500 system able to destroy even stealthy targets at distances up to 125 miles. The reason is the multiple intercept missiles the S-400 system can fire. The S-400 supports 4 different missiles, the very long-range 40N6E series 400 km, the long-range 48N6 250 km, the 9M96E2 120 km, and the short-range 9m 96E 40 km. Kaufman notes that advanced Russian-built air defenses like the S-300, S-400 and forthcoming S-500 family come with systems designed to detect and track the presence of low observable, low aircraft such as the F-22 and F-35. That's just a function of physics, as I have noted before. The problem for Moscow is that while Russian early warning and acquisitions radars operating in the VHF, UHF, L and S bands can detect and even track a tactical fighter-sized stealth aircraft, those systems don't deliver a weapons quality track. Russia has invested in low-band early warning radars, with some great variants out there, but can it use these to put a good picture together, and process it to develop a track against low-observation aircraft? Kaufman asked rhetorically. Physics dictate that a tactical fighter-sized stealth aircraft must be optimized to defeat higher frequency bands such the C, X and Ku bands, which are used by fire control radars to produce a high-resolution track. Industry, Air Force and Navy officials all agree that there is a step change in and low aircraft signature once the frequency wavelength exceeds a certain threshold and causes a resonant effect, which generally occurs at the top part of the S-band. Typically, that resonance effect occurs when a feature on an aircraft, such as a tail fin, is less than 8 times the size of a particular frequency wavelength. Effectively, small stealth aircraft that do not have the size or weight allowances for 2 feet or more of radar-absorbent material coatings on every surface are forced to make trades as to which frequency bands they are optimized for. That means that stealthy tactical fighters will show up on radars operating at a lower frequency bands, such as parts of the S or L band or even lower frequencies. Larger stealth aircraft such as the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit or forthcoming B-21 don't have many of the airframe features that cause a resonance effect, and are, as such, much more effective against low-frequency radars. For the Russians, solving the problem of targeting a low observable aircraft is something that they continue to work on, but it is doubtful the Moscow has resolved the issue. Russia's strong investment in layers of air defenses tells us that the Kremlin believes the primary threat to its ground forces comes from US air power. As such, defeating stealth technology is one of Moscow's top priorities, Kaufman notes, and the Kremlin has dedicated a lot of resources to that end. Russia has tried a number of different techniques to defeat stealth technology. Among those is trying to develop a tight integrated air defense network with multiple radars trying to look at the same aircraft from different directions, but how effective those efforts have been is an open question. It's great being able to see an aircraft, or parts of it, but getting accuracy such that you can confidently get a missile near the target is the primary challenge, Kaufman said. While the Russians, and the Chinese, have not yet cracked the problem, it is clear that stealth is becoming much less of an advantage over time, though perhaps no less expensive an acquisition. Eventually, Moscow will find a solution to the stealth problem as the cyclical struggle between offense and defense continues ad infinitum. It's just a matter of time. Air battle, America's stealth F-35 versus Russia's lethal S-400 air defense. While training against the best emerging threats in what Harrigan called open-air ranges looks to test the F-35 against the best current and future air defenses, there is still much more work to be done when it comes to anticipating high-end, high-tech fast-developing future threats. This is where modeling and simulation play a huge part in threat preparation, he added. The place where we have to have the most agility is really in the modeling and simulation environment. If you think about our open-air ranges, we try to build these ranges that have these threats that we expect to be fighting. Given the pace at which the enemy is developing these threats, it becomes very difficult for us to go out and develop these threats, Harrigan explained. The Air Force plans to bring a representation of next-generation threats and weapons to its first weapons school class in 2018. In a simulated environment, F-22s from Langley AFB in Virginia could train for combat scenarios with an F-35 at Nellis AFB, Nevada, he said. The Air Force F-35 is using open-air ranges and computer simulation to practice combat missions against the best Chinese and Russian-made air defense technologies as a way to prepare to enemy threats anticipated in the mid-2020s and beyond. The testing is aimed at addressing the most current air defense system threats such as Russian-made systems and also focused on potential next-generation or yet-to-exist threats, Air Force officials said. Air Force officials have explained that, looking back to 2001 when the JSF threat started, the threats were mostly European-centric, Russian-made SA-10s or SA-20s. Now the future threats are looking at both Russian and Chinese-made and Asian-made threats, they said. They have got these digital SAMs, surface-to-air missile systems, out there that can change frequencies, and they are very agile in how they operate. Being able to replicate that is not easy, Maj. General Jeffrey Harrigan, former director of the F-35 Integration Office, told Scout Warrior in an interview. Harrigan now leads the air war in the Middle East. Surface threats from air defenses is a tough problem because emerging threats right now can see aircraft hundreds of miles away, service officials. It can engage targets as low as 5 meters off the ground, and it can maneuver pulling up to 20 gigaseconds. A human can withstand no more than 9 gigaseconds with special pressure suits and helmets, and for only a few seconds. It is designed to knock out penetrating aircraft and missiles flying off the deck or just above ground and neutralize cruise missiles. Dr. Carlo Kopp, one of the world's top aerospace experts, says the S-400 has optional acquisition radars designed to defeat modern stealth aircraft such as the F-22 and the F-35. They work by operating in multiple frequency bands, including both VHF and L bands that can seat stealth-protected fighters. Stealth designs have been built on low detection by X-band radars, the most common military and civilian radars. Others such as C-band, now known as the G/H band, are less prevalent. The F-35 has stealth protection mainly in the front of the aircraft, meaning that when it turns away from its target it is vulnerable. In time, the entire air defense system of the US and its allies, all based primarily on X-band, will become obsolete as China and Russia move towards stealth aircraft and missiles. Along with the radar enhancements, which may or may not be delivered to foreign customers, Russia has a formidable integrated air defense system even though the size of its truly modern aircraft fleet is quite small compared to the United States and NATO. Russia lost a decade in the arms race when it had no money to develop and build new aircraft, and its economy today barely supports acquisition of effective numbers of new equipment. Indeed, one of the reasons Russia developed its air defenses along with wanting to counter US stealth aircraft and cruise missiles is because it could not afford a big fleet of modern fighter aircraft. The US administration and Congress should pay close attention to Russia's limited offensive capabilities, not too often done these days of anti-Russian hysteria in Washington. One use of the S-400 long-range missile is against standoff systems including flying command posts and aircraft such as the E-3 Sentry AWACS. These aircraft, which are used by the US and its NATO allies with a squadron stationed in Japan at Kadena AFB and in the UAE at Al Dhafra, are vulnerable to S-400 interceptors and lose their standoff range protection. We may be reaching the end of the AWACS capability, which were originally designed in the 1960s. The S-400 also has capability against ballistic missiles, a feature that surely attracted Saudi Arabia's interest. How good it is against ballistic missiles? No one knows for sure. The Saudi decision to buy the S-400 is probably linked to Egypt's earlier purchase of the S-300VM and desire to get the S-400. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states probably paid for Egypt's weapons. The Russians have definitely made a breakthrough with sales of weapons to some NATO countries with uncertain futures in the bloc, e.g. Greece, Turkey, and strong US client countries such as Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states such as the UAE. One immediate new example, Russia says the UAE is just months away from buying the formidable Su-35 multirole fighter jet, the current queen of the Russian Air Force fighter fleet. The Russian breakthrough makes sense in technological terms. The US does not have a true competitor to the S-400 system, and the US is not anxious to see such systems proliferate. Too bad and too late. Could Russia's S-400 do the unthinkable, kill a F-22, F-35 or B-2 bomber? Kaufman notes that advanced Russian-built air defenses like the S-300, S-400 and forthcoming S-500 family come with systems designed to detect and track the presence of low aircraft such as the F-22 and F-35. That's just a function of physics, as I have noted before. The problem for Moscow is that while Russian early warning and acquisitions radars operating in the VHF, UHF, L and S bands can detect and even track a tactical fighter-sized stealth aircraft, those systems don't deliver a weapons quality track. Russia has invested in low-band early warning radars, with some great variants out there, but can it use these to put a good picture together, and process it to develop a track against low-observation aircraft? Kaufman asked rhetorically. Russian air defenses may appear formidable as part of Moscow's increasingly sophisticated anti-access area denial (A2AD) capability, but areas protected by these systems are far from impenetrable bubbles or iron domes, as some analysts have called them. While it is true that a layered and integrated air defense may effectively render large swaths of airspace too costly, in terms of men and materiel, to attack using conventional fourth-generation warplanes such as the Boeing F/A-18E, F Super Hornet or Lockheed Martin F-16 Fighting Falcon, these systems have an Achilles heel. Russian air defenses will still struggle to effectively engage fifth-generation stealth aircraft such as the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor or F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. In terms of establishing viable air defenses against opponents with fifth-generation aircraft, it's quite clear how Russia is trying to tackle the problem of stealth, said Mike Kaufman, a research scientist specializing in Russian military affairs at CNA Corporation during an interview with the National Interest. Russia's advanced radar, variety of capable missiles and systems that try to integrate large amounts of data for a more potent air defense will increasingly segregate Western air forces into two benches. In a future where these systems have proliferated to China, Iran and other regional powers, there will be those that can penetrate and survive against advanced air defenses in a high-end fight, and those whose job it is to bomb ISIL.